Lunchtime, and I just had a nachi for lunch. Tasted pretty good. Actually, it was a bit rotten, but I still ate it anyway. It wasn't like rotten as in worms, but it was getting a bit off. But I was just thinking about this one time that the Lord gave me a word for someone. They were in a relationship, and the Lord told me to go talk to this kid. Not a kid as such, but he is a couple of years younger than me. And he told me to go tell him uh, words. So I went to him after debating and deliberating whether or not I should, because a lot of the times you don't really want to tell people, because firstly, of course, you think, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm just hearing voices? So sometimes you're not confident that you're actually hearing the voice of God. But secondly, most people don't want to hear the bad news. They just don't want to hear it. They'd rather live in a fantasy and believe that it's just gonna happen as exactly as they've imagined. It takes me back to the prophet Micaiah bin Imla. So King Ahab called him to his quarters, and he's like, "Listen, I want to go for this war at Ramoth Gilead. Am I gonna win?" Then Micaiah bin Imla, all the other prophets in the king's court had said, "Yes, you're gonna win. Yes, you're gonna win." Micaiah bin Imla comes in. King Ahab asks him, "Am I gonna win?" He's like, "Yep, king, you're gonna win. Go for it." Then the king is like, "You know what, guy? How many times have I told you to stop lying to me? Tell me the truth. Am I gonna win?" Then he's like, "No, you're not. You're actually gonna die when you get there, right?" You know what the king does? He arrests him, throws him in prison, and tells the prison warden not to release him until the king comes back from the war. Long story short, the king didn't come back. He died on the battlefield. So possibly Micaiah bin Imla died in prison. Possibly. So a lot of people say they want to hear the truth, but they don't really want to hear the truth. So it's very challenging to give words of wisdom or prophesying into people's lives, because you know a lot of times telling them the truth, they really don't want it. They want what's ideal for them. So anyway, with this kid, I I told him, I was like, "Listen, man, you've got an amazing relationship and the Lord is in it." But he's saying that as long as you remain pure, don't fornicate with her, don't try do crazy things with her. Just keep God at the center of it, right? And he guarantees that it will work out. This was like 2 years ago when I gave this 2 3 years ago when I gave this guy this word of wisdom. Then we discussed it, right? He was a Christian. He is a Christian. He is the son of some pastors. And he's like, "No, it makes sense." I explained that, she's a Christian and she's hungry for the Lord, and you're a Christian and you're hungry for the Lord. So the best way possible for this thing to happen is if you work together towards God. Flee fornication. Don't do anything stupid. And he agreed. And he's like, "No, it makes sense. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah." And I thought I had done my job. I thought I had done my job. I went back, carried on with my life. A couple of months later, they broke up. What happened? Turns out they had started sleeping together. And the Lord left that union, the Lord left that relationship. They excluded him. They got desirous for a season. I mean, these guys were supposed to get married. This is what the Lord had communicated, that this is a long-term thing. There are times when he tells me that communicate the same message, but he doesn't confirm that it's a long-term thing. He just says, tell them to keep it pure. Tell them to keep it pure. Tell them to keep it holy. But this one he had confirmed, Kuti, this could eventually end up in a marriage. And then he didn't end up taking my advice. I told him because God told me to tell him, didn't tell me to tell the girl. But I told him, and he lost a girl, perhaps the person he was supposed to marry, because he didn't listen. Yeah, so Sometimes you don't want to give people advice. A lot of times they don't listen. They just end up doing what they want. Then you're like, God, what's the point? Why not just, you know, why bother? So anyway, that's a story about one of the prophecies I gave some time ago and how it turned out. And it turned out exactly, because even though, you know, when God gives you a word for someone and it's a bad word or it's a good word, the bad stuff you really don't want it to come to pass. That's the truth. You're hoping and you're like, God, please let me be wrong. Okay, this is a story for another day. But yeah, you'll be like, let me be wrong. Let it not be like this. Let it work out. Let them be happy. Let them be happy ever after. But in most cases, when they don't take your advice, that's why a lot of the prophets, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, they became kind of depressed people because they would warn people and people wouldn't heed the warning. And they're suffering, then, you know, it's, yeah, I'm learning a lot, guys. A lot can be said. And thanks for watching. God bless you.